Hello, my name is Terry Bates. I'm the owner of A God Given Talent. I am a t-shirt designer and I also do tutorials on making t-shirts using vinyl, glitter vinyl, and sublimation printing. You can find me at www.agodgiventalent.com. That is my website. I'm coming to you today to talk to you about a t-shirt that I recently released called Rooted in Christ. When I released the t-shirt line Rooted in Christ, um, it was earth-shattering for me in a good way. It really spoke to me as I was doing design. God spoke to me as I was doing design. So I want to share some of that with you today. Coming from Jeremiah 17:8, and it reads, "They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. It its leaves always are green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit." It's Jeremiah 17:8. One who is rooted gets the fullness of God, not just for themselves, but to share with the world. So let's go back and look at that verse. That verse about the part of the verse that's talking about the heat. It says it does not fear when heat comes. So think about a tree. It stands through all kinds of weather. Its roots run deep, saturated in the ground. It takes a lot to remove a tree, and that's the way we need to be um, rooted in Christ. So when the heat comes, basically when things get tough, that shouldn't scare us because we know that we're rooted in Christ and that He is bigger than anything else that we face. It also talks about the leaves of the tree being green. Keep a smile on your face. Um, People shouldn't be able to tell when you're in a drought. Your leaves should always be green. Your fruit should always bear fruit. You need to continue to witness to other people even when you're going through, because you never know who's going through something worse than you, or who may need you, or who may be looking at you as an example of Christ, and then they may not go to church. You may be the only example of Christ that they see. So keep yourself rooted in Christ so that you can be that person, that same person, that Christian. Not your attitude change, your attitude's nasty or whatever, just because you're going through something. Um, Also doing droughts, not just doing tough times, but doing droughts. Sometimes, you may not be going through anything that's like horribly bad, but I don't know, you may just feel like you haven't felt God in a while, or maybe some things can happen in your life to make you feel separated from God. But when you're rooted in Christ, it's like you're soaked in the Word, and you need to just steep. We talked about be steeped in small groups last week and this week. So being rooted in Christ means that you soaked up all the substance by staying in your word. So therefore, when a drought comes, you already stored up for what's coming. So you're already ready for it. And you're not running around panicking because you already know what God said, and you know that He's going to keep His promise. It cannot go back void. And I talked about bearing fruit before earlier, but never fail to bear fruit. You can always help someone else, even when you're going through. I've had times where I felt like, the world may be ending and I'm going through, and then I run into somebody else who needs me more than I need what I'm seeking, or I forget about my problems and I start ministering to them because the God in me needs to be. I need to have God in me so that I am always prepared to help someone else as a Christian. Um, But that is what inspired my shirts, Rooted in Christ. It has a tree on it, and there are 3 different designs. One has Rooted in Christ across the top, and then the other 2 has the same tree with Rooted in Christ under the bottom of the tree, and it connects into the roots. But that is where my thought process, and that is what God gave me when I was making those shirts. Just think about, trees. They stand beside each other. They grow beside each other. Their roots, interact with each other. And then, people try to break them down. People climb on them. People may even pull a limb or something off of it. But think about how hard it is to actually get rid of a tree. Like, even if you chop it down, the stump is still there. And then people try to remove the stump. And sometimes when people, try to remove trees, it's so rooted in the ground. It's under the house, it's under some other things that you're not expecting. So some people say, oh no, that tree's been there. It's really rooted there. So we're not even going to mess with that tree. And that's what Satan said, oh, I'm not going to try this little trick on her or him because they're so rooted that it's just, he already know it's not going to work. So I hope that and pray that this word encouraged you today. Thank you for listening and watching my channel.